The courtroom erupts. Cameras flash. June 2019, Providence Municipal Court. A lawyer stands frozen in a $3,200 suit that suddenly feels like prison clothes. Judge Frank Caprio, 47 years on the bench, stares down from his elevated position, dead silent. The elderly black woman seated across the aisle, Ruth Williams, 73, sits with tears streaming down her face, clutching a worn folder filled with medical records and a death certificate. The lawyer's leather court folder, the same one he's carried to 200 victories over 12 years, sits abandoned on the defendant's table. His phone buzzes with texts from senior partners. "Get out now." Security footage is already trending. 2.4 million views in 90 minutes. The Bar Association watches the live stream from their Boston office. One sentence from Caprio, counselor, approached the bench, is about to end everything. What he said 4 minutes ago can't be unsaid. The mystery, what 11 words could a legendary judge never forgive? Between 2007 and 2019, a corporate defense attorney climbed fast through Boston's legal hierarchy. Harvard Law, federal clerkship, over 200 case wins. Most against civil defendants who couldn't afford proper representation. His specialty became crushing the vulnerable with procedural precision. "Compassion is expensive. Courts run on procedure," he once told a reporter from the Boston Globe. That quote would follow him everywhere. The leather court folder became his signature. Clients noticed it. Opponents feared it. Inside, he kept his dismissal motions, his research, his perfect record. By mid-2019, he'd never lost a case in civil court. Judge Frank Caprio's reputation stood in stark contrast. The people's judge, legendary throughout Providence for balancing law with humanity. The lawyer had never appeared before Caprio. He assumed all judges operated the same. Procedure over compassion, rules over reality. When Ruth Williams' case landed on his docket, he saw routine work, forgettable, billable hours, nothing more. Ruth Williams lived in Providence for over 50 years. 73 years old, church volunteer, clean record her entire life. Her husband died in 2017, and the medical bills destroyed their savings. She accumulated $1,850 in parking tickets, visiting his grave at North Burial Ground, driving to doctor appointments, picking up prescriptions. She couldn't afford a lawyer. She represented herself, barely understanding the legal language and the notices piling up on her kitchen table. Caprio's courtroom was known for fairness. She hoped for mercy, maybe a payment plan. The parking authority hired the Boston lawyer to make an example, to collect aggressively, to show that Providence wouldn't tolerate excuses. He saw an easy target. She brought her own worn folder to court. Medical records, her husband's death certificate, receipts from the cemetery. 2 folders on opposite tables. One pristine leather, carried through 200 victories. One battered manila, carried through grief. The contrast would become the thumbnail moment that defined everything. June 2019. The hearing was scheduled for 10 in the morning. The lawyer didn't prepare seriously. He assumed Caprio operated like every other judge. Procedure over people, rules over sympathy. Ruth arrived 2 hours early, nervous, sitting in the courthouse hallway whispering prayers. Caprio's cases often drew observers and cameras. The courtroom filled. The lawyer entered confident, leather folder under his arm, designer suit sharp, cologne noticeable. He didn't acknowledge Ruth, didn't review her situation. Caprio entered. 47 years on the bench, over 10,000 cases heard. The opening pleasantries felt theatrical. The lawyer treated it like performance, respectful on the surface, dismissive underneath. Ruth stood to speak. Her voice shook. She held her folder with both hands. 2 folders on opposite tables. The cameras were already rolling. Nobody knew yet that the next 15 minutes would end a career, launch a viral moment, and become a case study in law schools nationwide. The collision was 3 minutes away. Ruth began explaining her husband's death. The cemetery visits every Sunday. The medical appointments that left her parked illegally because she couldn't walk far. She showed photos, her husband's grave, the headstone, the death certificate dated April 2017. Her voice broke when she mentioned visiting his grave, to talk to him, to tell him about my day. The lawyer interrupted. "Your Honor, emotional appeals don't change the law." Caprio paused. A rare silence filled the courtroom. Observers sensed the shift. The lawyer continued, assuming he was controlling the narrative. She had options. She chose convenience over compliance. Then he used the phrase that would destroy him. "People like her always have excuses." Ruth's face fell. She whispered, barely audible, "People like me." The courtroom tension spiked. Observers leaned forward. The lawyer assumed he was winning. False certainty flooded his expression. Caprio's face changed. The judge's hand moved slightly, resting on the bench. Nobody noticed yet. Too late to stop what was coming. The lawyer pressed forward. "Your Honor, I move for full payment plus penalties. $1,850 plus court costs." Ruth tried to respond. He talked over her. "Ma'am, if you can't follow simple parking rules at your age." Caprio's hand rose. A clear signal to stop. The lawyer didn't stop. He finished the sentence. "Maybe you shouldn't be driving at all." The courtroom gasped. Cameras captured everything. Ruth started crying silently, clutching her folder against her chest. The lawyer smirked. He assumed her tears proved his point, that she knew she was wrong, that emotion wouldn't save her. Caprio stood. An unprecedented move. Observers who'd watched him for years knew something massive was coming. The judge's gavel sat untouched on the bench. He didn't need it. His presence filled the room. The lawyer finally noticed Caprio's expression. The realization arrived too late. The footage would replay this exact moment 14 million times over the next 6 months. Frame by frame. The smirk, the standing judge, the turning point. Caprio spoke, his voice low and controlled. "Counselor, approach the bench." The lawyer walked forward, still confident. He expected a sidebar, a quiet warning. Caprio didn't whisper. He spoke loud enough for the entire courtroom to hear. "In 47 years on this bench, I have never seen this level of cruelty." The lawyer's face changed. He realized this was public. Caprio continued, pointing toward Ruth. "You mocked a grieving widow in my courtroom. She buried her husband. She's fighting to survive." The judge addressed the lawyer's comment directly. "That phrase, 'people like her,' I know exactly what you meant." The courtroom went dead silent. The footage would capture the lawyer's realization washing over his face in real time. Caprio dismissed all of Ruth's tickets, waived all fees. Then he turned back to the lawyer. "Your behavior is beneath this profession." A courtroom observer pulled out their phone, filed a bar complaint in real time. The second player had entered. The lawyer's phone started buzzing in his pocket. Text after text, partners, colleagues, the beginning of the end. The video uploaded within minutes. Judge destroys arrogant lawyer. Hit social media before the lawyer left the courthouse. 2.4 million views in the first 90 minutes. Exponential growth. Twitter erupted with his name, his firm's name, his law school. His phone became unusable. Calls and texts from partners, clients, colleagues, reporters. The leather court folder still sat on the courtroom table. In the chaos, he forgot it. He left through the back exit. Cameras waited there too. Ruth was surrounded by supporters, becoming a local hero in real time. Media requests flooded both sides. Every article mentioned his Rising Star Award from the Boston Bar Association just 6 weeks earlier. The screenshot of his smirk became a meme. "When you mock a widow" appeared in 1,000 variations. The parking authority immediately distanced themselves. The law firm's managing partner watched the video 3 times in his corner office. He made a phone call. Damage control meetings were scheduled for that afternoon. The lawyer drove back to Boston in silence, checking his phone at red lights, watching his career disintegrate in real time. The Boston law firm launched an internal review within 48 hours. Pure damage control. The partners discovered a pattern nobody had noticed, or nobody had cared to notice. 47 cases against unrepresented defendants, all victories, all using aggressive tactics, all involving marginalized plaintiffs, elderly defendants, immigrants, single mothers. The Bar Association opened a formal investigation. Prior complaints surfaced, previously buried or ignored, now scrutinized under the viral spotlight. Colleagues stopped responding to his texts. Professional distance became immediate. Judge Caprio released a public statement. The law serves people, not egos. The lawyer hired his own attorney. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. During the investigation, he finally reviewed Ruth Williams' complete case file, the medical bills from her husband's cancer treatment, receipts from the cemetery visits, the reality he'd ignored in his rush to win. His leather folder was returned by a court clerk in a manila envelope. It felt different now, not like a weapon, like evidence. He put it in a drawer. Couldn't look at it. The object that defined his success now symbolized his fall. 3 weeks after the hearing, 47 former clients requested case reviews. The media found them. Single mothers who'd been mocked for asking for payment plans. Elderly defendants humiliated in cross-examination. Immigrants whose language barriers became punchlines. Each shared their story. The pattern became undeniable. The lawyer's defense: "I was a zealous advocate. That's my job." The bar committee wasn't convinced. They understood the distinction between zealousness and cruelty. The law firm suspended him. Pending investigation, the official statement read. His name vanished from the website. His office was cleared. His Wikipedia page updated hourly. Controversial attorney, known for viral courtroom incident, suspended by Massachusetts bar. Judge Caprio's video reached 14 million views globally. Law students analyzed it frame by frame. The lawyer believed the suspension was temporary. False certainty again. The partners had already decided. Behind closed doors, they'd voted unanimously. The only question was timing, how to terminate a partner without triggering a wrongful termination claim. They found a way. They always do. Within 6 weeks of the viral moment, his partnership was over. September 2019. The bar disciplinary hearing took place in a packed gallery in Boston. Ruth Williams attended. Observers were stunned to see her there. The lawyer's defense was simple. 1 bad day, 12 years of good work. The committee played the courtroom footage. His voice, his smirk. The phrase, "people like her," echoing through the hearing room. Then they presented the pattern. 47 cases. Consistent cruelty. Documented complaints. Character witnesses were scheduled to appear. None showed up. Colleagues ghosted him entirely. Ruth testified. She described feeling less than human in that courtroom, how his words made her feel invisible. The lawyer submitted a written apology. It sounded hollow, drafted by his attorney, lacking genuine remorse. The committee deliberated for 90 minutes. The verdict: 18-month suspension, mandatory ethics training, public reprimand. He surrendered his bar card, the same card he'd carried in the same wallet for 12 years. The thumbnail moment, the physical embodiment of his professional identity, handed over to a clerk, placed in an envelope, filed away. The firm terminated his partnership under mutual agreement, a forced resignation dressed up as professional courtesy. Clients defected to competitors within days. His reputation was destroyed beyond repair. The financial collapse came fast. Legal fees from his own defense. Lost income. Reputation repair consultants who couldn't deliver results. His marriage strained under the pressure. His wife had known about his arrogance for years, but couldn't defend it publicly. They moved to a smaller apartment. He sold his awards, the plaques from law school, the Rising Star Trophy. Meanwhile, Ruth Williams started a scholarship fund for low-income families facing legal challenges. The viral story raised $89,000. Judge Caprio became a national figure, his reputation as the people's judge cemented. The lawyer tried rebranding, consulting, writing, teaching. Every door closed. Nobody returned his calls. Nobody wanted the association. The leather court folder sat in a storage box in his new apartment. He couldn't bring himself to open it. The object that once symbolized dominance now represented everything he'd lost. Unopened, untouched, a relic of a different life. 18 months later, the suspension ended. He was eligible to practice again. Whether he was a changed man or just operating under changed circumstances remained unclear. He applied to 14 small firms. Rejected by all 14. The Google results never disappeared. That lawyer from video replaced Rising Star as his defining characteristic. He started a solo practice, took pro bono cases, tried to demonstrate transformation. Courts remained skeptical. His first case, an elderly client facing parking tickets. The déjà vu hit him immediately. He won, dismissal through compassion, not cruelty. The judge noticed the difference, commended his approach publicly. But the reputation was permanent. Search engines don't forget. Social media doesn't forgive. He rebuilt a career on the ruins of the old one. Smaller cases, quieter clients, no headlines. He bought a plain manila folder for his new cases. The old leather one stayed in storage. Never touched again. The recurring object transformed from trophy to tombstone, from symbol of success to reminder of cost, from weapon to warning. Judge Frank Caprio retired in 2023. His legacy was cemented. Humanity over procedure, people over protocol. Ruth Williams passed away in 2024. Her scholarship fund continued, supporting families facing legal challenges they couldn't afford. The lawyer still practices, handling smaller cases, living a quieter life. The video resurfaces annually in Best Judge Moments compilations, each time bringing fresh comments, fresh judgment, fresh viewers discovering the story. Law schools use the footage as a teaching tool. What Not to Do in Court, Part 1. His name became synonymous with a cautionary tale. The career he rebuilt never reached the heights of what came before. Final realization arrived at slowly over years. Talent without empathy equals destruction. During an office move in late 2024, he found the old leather court folder in a box of forgotten items, unopened for over 5 years. He donated it to a legal ethics museum in Massachusetts. They accepted it, displayed it with a placard. The cost of arrogance. The object that once carried 200 victories now carried one lesson. The transformation was complete. The worn leather court folder sits in a museum display case now, lit from above, a red arrow pointing to its scuffed edges. Visitors read the placard explaining its significance, how one lawyer's arrogance destroyed everything he'd built, how 11 words spoken in cruelty ended a career that took 12 years to construct. The museum uses it to teach new lawyers about the weight of their words, the power of their position, the responsibility that comes with representing the law. Judge Caprio's legacy lives on in viral clips and courthouse legends. Ruth Williams' scholarship has helped over 200 families. The lawyer practices quietly, taking cases nobody else wants, charging fees people can afford. He's never spoken publicly about that day in Providence, never tried to rebuild his public image. Some transformations happen in silence. The leather folder carries its warning forward. Same object, different meaning. Once a weapon of professional dominance, now a monument to professional destruction. Real power isn't winning. It's knowing when winning costs too much. That lesson came too late, but it came, and it stayed.